You're now tuned into the Hurt
and Nick's podcast,
Run That Back.
It's your boy DJ Young Chum, DJ Stacks.
My name is Pies, straight from Martinique.
Mr. White Yard, all my looks, all my talks, and big up Brooklyn each and every time.
Traveling the voice out of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yo, this is Moto.
Big love, this is Lyrical.
Yo, Mr. Killer representing Full 100, they don't know.
RunDatt Back podcast. Also in New York.
There's always positive energy.
Representing the culture. Moto there, Moto there.
I'm at a people place in my life, and it can't change. Run that back, you don't know. We turn up the fit till it turn over. Run that back.
What's going on, everybody? It's Hercules.
And it's Nick.
And this is our first actual episode of Run That Back. We decided to rewind that, run that back, and do episodes where we actually introduce ourselves to our listeners. And so today's Nick's introduction to the podcast. Very important part of this movement of Run That Back. Her individuality, her creativity, her radicalism will come out. And you're going to be like, where is this information and this education? How does she know all these things? Where is this all coming from? She's going to break it into patois and in the Trinidadian sing-song. You're like, whoa, what is going on? And instead of just having you have those wild experiences, we said, let's let you know where she's coming from. Who is Nick? Or better known as Nikisha Hamilton. So I'm gonna ask her some things today, and we're gonna get to know her. How's that sound?
That sounds great. Let's get right into it. Let the people them know her.
Well, see, there it goes.
Yeah.
Already.
Can't help myself.
So in that, since that's where we went, you are what? Who is Nikisha? And I asked that in the essence of where is your family from, and tell us a little bit about that. What is your background?
So, as you said, my name is Nikisha, but for the show and public purposes, I'd rather Nick. And I was born in Brooklyn. Good old Brooklyn, New York, down by SUNY Downstate. Big up yourself, cause you bring me in. But I was raised in Crown Heights. And my family, my mom is from Trinidad and Tobago, and my dad is from Jamaica. And so my parents was together for about 16 years before they broke up. And I was raised mostly with my dad, so most of the time you probably hear more like Jamaican accent because I was mostly raised by my dad, who has a very, very strong Jamaican accent. But my mom had more of a soft power to her, so I learned about Trinidad and whatnot through music and ways of being and lifestyle and carnival and kiddies carnival.
So you're a fat girl.
I'm a fat girl. I love a fat.
Okay.
I love a fat.
Okay.
I love Bacchanal.
Bacchanal. Carnivals.
Carnivals is my life.
When was the first time you went to a carnival?
I can't remember when.
What's the one that you remember?
Trinidad. But, I mean, the first carnival I've ever been to was Eastern Parkway.
Okay, right. Brooklyn.
Yeah, my father used to sell food on Eastern Parkway, right on Rogers in Bedford, right across from the church. Or diagonal from the church.
Right, it's across the street, right?
And my dad, and then he used to sell food behind the museum. My father used to have a food truck, and he used to sell Jamaican and Trinidadian food, and he used to put up the Jamaican and Trinidadian flag.
So your dad was Jamaican and Trinidadian?
No, my father's Jamaican, my mother's Trinidadian.
But he was selling Jamaican and Trinidadian food?
Yeah.
So he knows how to cook both?
Like, no. Well, my mom my mom and my grandmother were a big part of that. They were a big part in leading the Trinidadian side of things. And so my father, like my grandmother would probably cook, like she used to make the roti.
Oh, okay.
And then my dad would cook the curry chicken and the curry goat and sell it. And then, or like sometimes he would get some bust up shuts, which is roti without dal puri, which is peas. Split peas that's crushed. So my father, they would sell doubles. My father would sell doubles, and then he made friends with other restaurants and built it out.
Got it.
But people were like, you know.
So you was a little kid running around, Labor Day weekend, Eastern Parkway, Dad had a food truck. Mom's was making the Trini food. Pops was making Jamaican food. And you was just running around singing songs, dancing,
In
and
the-
working.
and
Probably.
working. Yeah. Oh,
'Cause,
most
you know,
definitely. It's a Caribbean
yeah,
household.
yeah,
Like, but from like my first job was really selling soda and water.
Mm.
And then I got upgraded to being on the food truck and selling like hot dogs and burgers. And I used to cook. And like, mind you, like we stopped doing that when I was probably like 11, 12, 13. So I was doing this from a very young age, like at 3, 4 years old, selling people water
Okay.
and soda.
Saleswoman.
Yeah, and then I grew up and I used to sell. They like, we don't want no picnic for sell us hot dog. I said don't. And then I used to be like, when I'm fresh looking picnic, I said don't buy it. Then we have more people just walked away, and I'm like 5 years old, mind you. Like I'm 5 years old.
Okay, so sharp mouth from then.
Yes, I was a precocious child.
Oh, precocious. Okay,
Yes.
GRE word. Got it. All right. So I'm starting to see very much culture, childhood, the language was instilled in you, the foods, the music. You're in Brooklyn, the hub of Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
So as a child, did you ever go and visit these places? What was your travel experiences like?
Well, the first countries I've ever been to, besides Toronto, was Jamaica and Trinidad. Those were the first countries I traveled to as a child. But I would say that I traveled to Jamaica more than I traveled to Trinidad. I started to go to Trinidad when I was like more so in middle school, like 12, 13 years old. And then I would go like every 2, 3 years. But Jamaica, I grew up going to Jamaica. Like I spent so many birthdays, so many breaks. So I would say like the first country I ever been to was Jamaica, like at 2 years old.
Got it. And so, I mean, fast forward, I'm sure you will get there. You've traveled other places since. Would you say from that time till now that Jamaica, since you've been there many times, how do you feel about Jamaica?
You know,
And
I
that's,
don't
and
like.
that side of your, because I know you.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not trying to be messy. I'm not.
It's so
I'm not.
hard.
I know when you
'Cause-
have, and I mean, look, Trinidad and Jamaica to me, I think are like two very dope cultures.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like one better or different than the other, but more people know about Jamaica just because, you know.
Yes, yes, because Jamaicans are loud and bossy, and Trinidadians are more subtle with their stuff, but they're loud and bossy too in their different ways,
Right.
and they're very different countries, but very similar as well. And like I said, like I always had this guilt because like my mom was like, I know you like Jamaica more than you like Trinidad, and it's not that. It's just from then till now, Jamaica has always been the safest place, and it's so odd because it's not. But for me, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, maybe physically, I feel like Jamaica could be better with violence, and I want better for Jamaica, but it's because like the smell of the air. Jamaica has this roast smell, like we're always roasting something. We're always roasting chicken, roasting pig, fish, breadfruits, anything them can catch, them I roast it. And for me, it's just always been that place where the music, it's like Jamaica has a sound. When you see a still image of Jamaica, you just hear a sound, and then so when you're there, it's just, you're just enveloped in it. And so it's always been that place. And then, of course, the beautiful nature and the beach. I'm a fish. Like, literally, I'm a Pisces. So I love to be
Shout out to the Pisces.
Shout out. Big up yourself, cause you don't know it. We don't have a chat.
Yeah,
Them don't know.
Then Pisces, she got y'all.
The best. So yeah, I think.
Got it. So Jamaica's dope. I'm biased, but you also, from your experiences and your education, also believe Jamaica's dope. Great.
Yeah.
Trinidad's also dope. So you got these two cultures, great combinations.
Best.
Okay, even better than good is best. And out comes Nikisha, growing up Brooklyn. What was life like after childhood? Where did you go to school? Actually, where did you go to school? What was your educational experiences like?
So, yes, all that Brooklyn played a role in developing who I am. And before I even go like into where I go to school, like Brooklyn, growing up in Brooklyn, my father was, I would say, politically active, and so I grew up around a lot of politicians in power, Caribbean people in power, and so for me, growing up with that, like growing up with all these elected officials and people who are leaders in our community, I too saw myself in that space and being able to do that work. And I wanted to be the one who lead conversation for the CARICOM and all that stuff because I feel I'm so Caribbean, and being in Brooklyn, it helps facilitate you. Like, I can always hear a Jamaican accent in Brooklyn. I can always hear a Trinidadian accent in Brooklyn. I can always eat Trinidadian food, even though it's different when you go home. So like after, like, because of being from Brooklyn, being in a very local but international space like New York City in general, and wanting to be a change maker, I decided to go to school at American University in Washington, D.C. Because I thought that I was going to be a congresswoman for my home. Because
I mean, it's not too late, but that's another part of the story.
Stop yourself.
Who knows?
Stop
Who knows?
yourself.
I'm not saying anything. You were as a child.
I was a
You had a
child,
vision and a
and
dream.
that was
and
my
you went down the
vision.
path, and you're not dead. That's all I'm saying.
I know.
That's
but,
all I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay,
but-
continue.
But
You
that,
wanted to be a congresswoman. You went to AU.
Yes, I was inspired by Congresswoman Datt Clark because I was, like, she was a elected official that I feel like I had access to because my dad was a part of their political club. And so I was like, I'm going to go to D.C. and I'm going to intern for Yvette and I'm going to intern for Barack Obama. So I
So
went,
you interned for Yvette Clark. Oh, you got to run that back real quick. You can't just.
I mean,
you
I
can't
said
just
that's
gloss
why I
through
wanted to go
that.
to D.C. I didn't get to that part of
But
the
you
story.
did go to D.C.
But I did go
You
to D.C.
interned for Congresswoman
Yvette
Clark, and the first black president,
In his
Barack
last term.
Obama, in his last term. Like, I had to
Last
run
year.
that back
Yeah.
because you said that.
There was a lot of things I did while I was so I went. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, but I thought I was going to go to law school and become a lawyer. And then I started to learn about. I went through a summer program, and I started to learn about different aspects of college. And because I'm first generation, my parents never been to college. I was like really one of the first people in my like I'm like one of the babies in the family, but I'm one of the first people to go to college, like and graduate with a 4-year degree, like within like that whole 18 to 25-year-old time frame.
Right.
So it was like a big deal for me, for my. I would like to say for my family, but they don't really show emotions in that sense. But like, I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
they're like, oh, wow.
Yeah. So my father's like, yeah, turn liar. So I went there and in DC. So I didn't know what to do, and so I met with my college counsel advisor, and I was just like, I want to go, and all I know is I wanted to do a year abroad. So that's why I'm like saying all these things, because it's like, it's just all, that's just what the steps were. And like, I planned my 4 years in her office in August. The one and probably only internship open house I ever went to at AU was the White House one. And I went to that in September of freshman year. And they were talking about how they want experience. Like, the White House intern recruiter came, and I was just like, I'm an intern for them somehow, somewhere. And so I set up my whole career. And then that's how come I ended up in international affairs and international relations. So I told my advisor I wanted to do a year abroad. All I knew, I wanted to do a year abroad, work for Obama, intern for Yvette, and whatever else. Whatever that path is.
Just show up.
Right. Did abroad, like did the year abroad. I realized like I ended up in international organizations, which is global comparative governance,
Mm-hmm.
because my advisor was like, if you take these classes, then you could definitely do a year abroad, and you could do a year abroad in Europe, and you could
Oh.
also finish your Spanish minor.
Oh, Spanish, Europe, traveling,
So
language.
and then the program was great because you had homestay, you fed 5 days a week unless you're on away.
So where did you end up traveling to while you was in college?
Oh man! So my sophomore year, I went to Cuba, study
Cuba,
race
got it.
study race and ethnicity, and then I moved to Spain,
Spain.
and then there it's like 19 countries. So
So you went to 19 countries while staying in Spain.
no, Spain, and then I went to Spain, and I lived in Spain and Belgium.
Oh, Spain and Belgium.
And then while I was living in both countries, I traveled. So when I was living in Spain, I traveled to like I did Southern Europe. So I traveled to like Italy, Portugal, Greece, Turkey, and then the south of Spain. And then when I moved to Belgium, I did the Netherlands, England, London, England, France, Germany, Kosovo, Vatican, Serbia, former like Yugoslavia, Macedonia, Bosnia, Prague, Czech Republic, which is Hungary, Austria. I said Vatican. Did I say Vatican?
I don't think so.
Vatican. And Luxembourg.
Wow.
Luxembourg, yeah. I think,
Wow.
and I said Turkey, right? Yeah, I think I
Wow.
said Turkey earlier.
I mean, I know. I think our listeners got the memo.
Yeah, I know. I just went through the whole list.
No, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then I
actually.
went back to Cuba my senior year while I was working for the White House.
I love that.
And I went the week before Obama went. And when I was working for the White House, they sent me his speech that he said when he was in Cuba, because they knew I came back from Cuba.
Oh, wow.
And so I was there for 10 days. And so, like, yeah, those were the countries I went to. I mean, I could have went to other countries. Like, I could have went to South Africa. But I wanted to lead my own trip to Cuba. So I taught, like, I was a facilitator / teacher of, like, Cuba and U.S. relations and understanding race and ethnicity in Cuba. And so I was doing that while I was interning for the White House. And then my sophomore year, I interned for a vet. My summer into sophomore year, I interned in the U.S. Attorney's Office. And then I interned for Mayor de Blasio in the Community Affairs Unit when he first started, when there was hope. And I interned, when I was living in Belgium, I interned for a lobbying firm.
Wow. Okay. Hold on, because this is a lot to digest.
Yes.
A lot of information.
Yes. I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I'm sorry.
Your resume, you haven't even got through it yet, is astronomical. And so what keeps coming up for me as a question is, when you graduated college, how old were you?
22.
So you saying that, okay, the internships at the White House and all of that happened during college?
Mm-hmm. My
So
senior.
like if
Everything
we're, like,
happened between
like-
18 and 22.
like all of what you just was talking about happened before you turned 23.
Yeah, by the time I turned
By
22.
the time you turned 23, you did
By the time I turned
all of
22. Because I was in the White House when I was 21. And then I turned 22 in Cuba. And then I finished out my internship at the White House. And then I graduated.
That's impressive. I don't know that many people who have that expansive of an undergraduate experience, especially when it comes to traveling. I know that people study abroad and sometimes, get into other places while they're abroad. But wow. I mean, I guess it helped the career, the major you were studying. Definitely, I'm sure played a large role in those possibilities. But that's dope. So, okay, well traveled, Caribbean woman, educated. Let's find out, what do you like to do for fun? Obviously, travel. Like, don't even need to. We got that. Y'all got
Yeah.
that? I got that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're not traveling and doing that part of what you love, what are the other things that Nikisha enjoys doing, whether as a child or now? But like, these are the things that Nikisha loves. Nick, should I say?
Yeah, because Nikisha Nick, consistently, I think something so simple, but reading. I love learning. I'm such an avid reader, and I feel like reading provides me a safe space. And I am always reading. That is one consistent activity I'm doing. Always reading, always learning something new every day. And so that is so amazing and great.
Reading, okay.
I love to read. I love to dance. So I started dance and doing photography, and I did photography as well. And I do photography now. I don't dance as much as I used to, at all.
You a little rusty.
I'm very rusty.
Okay. But you still get down in the fets, though.
Yeah, I still, my waistline is still
Okay, water.
like water, like no wire.
Okay.
No
Heard
slime.
you.
It's great. It's a great wine. I just have to say I'm very proud of myself. So I do love to dance. I love to go out dancing. I love film photography. I've recently discovered this year biking.
Okay.
I enjoy
New
biking.
New hobby.
And I just love to create. Like I love. I have an entrepreneurial spirit, and right now, even as I encounter different changes in my own business, and what I want to do, I really do enjoy that entrepreneurship, and figure out what is my jive, like what do I connect with, and what do I want to do. But it's like, I love music. I love listening to music. I love traveling. I love learning new things. I love going to museums and galleries. I love art. I love art. So any exposure to art.
Love art. Run that back. Say it again.
I love art. So anything that can expose me to culture and art, like whether it's a concert or going to a ballet show or going to a step show, whatever it is, I love to be an audience member. I love being an audience member. So yeah, those are some things. But if you want to say, well, you could catch me doing every day, it's probably reading something.
Got you.
Yeah.
I love that. You sound like someone who's very well-rounded at a very young age.
I love to eat too. Sorry.
You're a foodie.
I'm a foodie.
Got to not leave that out if that is a fact.
That is a fact.
It looks like it's a fact.
It's a fact.
In the sense that your eyes lit up when you was, I gotta put food back into this
Let me
conversation.
tell you something. I'm not a gastro person. Like people who do like gastro eating, kind of like not there yet. But I am adventurous.
Got you. We heard a little bit about your upbringing. We heard about college. You left college. You graduated. And what was life like next? I know you started a business. What was that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So after I left college, I kind of found myself like not knowing where I want to be. I'm still in that phase of my life, but it's okay. We're all on this journey together. So I left college. I became an urban fellow. Worked in the Department of Homeless Services. I liked it. I loved my team. They were really dope, but I didn't really like working in the Department of Homeless Services just because it's like sad for me. And then I ended up stumbled my way into the Brooklyn Museum where I became the head of government community relations, and that's when I found what I wanted to do, like how I wanted to apply my government skills. Like I loved being in the middle of like government and arts and culture and being able to develop policies to expand equity into the sector. And then when I started to really work in that space, I started to see that it's mad racist and that, you know, people of color are being treated with a lack of respect in institutions, in the sector, and just in general. And we see that in every sector. So that was the moment where I was like, oh, maybe I found something I'm really passionate, like I can really do because I love arts and culture.
You love
like,
art, you love culture,
I love
and
to travel.
you understand government.
And I understand government. So like what like you know, I went to school for international relations and I always wanted to go international but still be local somehow. And arts and culture is the perfect mix between local and international.
Right.
So
right.
from there, I started my own business called Afeni Creative Studios that works to expand the creative economy for the African diaspora.
Hold that. Stick a pen. Let's run that back. You said something that I thought was interesting. Art and culture is the best international and local experience.
Right. Because
And essentially you created Afeni Studios to have that reach and kind of support that community.
right. Because the vision for me when I created Afeni was that I eventually would be working with government officials and organizations that support the arts and culture sector across the African diaspora. And so not just like going to countries that are led by Black people, which is like the ultimate goal, but also going to countries that like England, because we have a large African diaspora in London, you know,
right.
like
all over the world.
All over the world. So how do we work with these communities throughout the world to connect our economy? So that is the goal. So I started off here and working with nonprofit organizations here to basically advocate to the government for resources, for policy changes and such. And it's been a very interesting experience. And now I just feel like I just want to learn more because I feel like I think I need to learn more because I don't feel like I see a lot of information around the importance of social policy and cultural policy.
And how much revenue gets made from the culture, right? That's a whole conversation we can have and we will have.
Right.
And so I think that's interesting. So a little opportunity for some bragging rights for Afeni Creative Studios because you said you worked in government, consulting with these non-for-profits to help support this creative economy right here in New York City and Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you have to somehow get money. So what does that part look like? How much money has Afeni Creative Studios been able to get in the few years that you've been in operation? 2 years, 3 years you've been
3
in
years, about 3 years. And for our clients, we've helped them raise about $4 to $5 million in the past 3 years. And so that's a major accomplishment, and it's not something that I've done on my own. Like it's knowing that we have elected representatives that want to support our community,
right.
and it's just helping our communities better communicate so that we can make these elected officials' jobs easier when it comes to allocating funding. So since I understood that language, since I've built these relationships, I wanted to utilize my relationships for good so that we could build these institutions and they stay here because it's so critical having these cultural institutions, especially when we are facing gentrification and colonization and all the zations that are happening.
You said 4 million?
Yeah.
2 years?
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5? That's not bad.
No, I don't think so.
That's like, and I'm being light about it, and so are you, clearly. That's good. Wow. And just you, small little shop, Well,
That's
grassroots
just me.
organization.
I've had the fortune of having like some colleagues come in and out, but you know the rocky things about entrepreneurship, it's really just you for a while until you really get a grasp of how you want to run your own business and how you want to grow and where you want to go next. But just me, $4 million, and my clients met their goals, met their goals or exceeded their goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Phenomenal. I love that you were able to compact so much about who you are, what you love, and where you've come to. Because obviously, this podcast, this experience, this journey we're about to bring folks on is where we're going to go next.
Right.
But now folks have, I think, a really awesome opportunity to really see who Nick is and like what got you here. I understand that in all of your glory, there's also your story. There's the struggle, there's the traumas, there's the things you had to fight through in order to succeed, the things that you're probably still fighting with because that's a part of life. But like, I want to talk about the highs in this space because, you know, people should know that you have overcome those challenges, whatever it is, you know, and I know that we'll also dive into some of those things as we go deeper in. But definitely thank you. And thank you to our viewers and our listeners for checking out our first episode of many, introducing us to Nick and who she is, what she's about, what she loves. And we'll see you on the next episode of Run That Back. Make sure you
run that back, run that back, run that back, run that back.
I'm at a place in my life, and it can't change. Run that back, you don't know. We turn up the fit till it turn over. Run that back.
Representing the culture. You're watching Run That Back. Big up Brooklyn each and every time. Boop!
Run it back. You gotta run it back.
Run that back. We go run that back. Do something crazy. Run that back is pure energy. Crazy, crazy.
If it's nice, play it twice. You understand what I'm saying? And if it's sweet, make sure you can repeat. Run that back. You understand what I'm saying? No time to chat, no time to talk. Just run that back. Mr. Killer says so.